What's up, guys? Been quite a while. I don't think I've done a live chat for a while, or at least a live Q&A with any of my friends and colleagues in the strength industry. It's been a while with Matt. Schedule's pretty busy. So let's let a couple people roll through. My man Matt is ready to go. It has been a while. Here we go.
What's up, homie?
What's up, my man?
Not much. What's going on?
Long time.
Yeah, it's been a month or two.
I know. It's been too long now that my schedule is so crazy.
Yeah.
It's insane. Well, this is going to be good because I think we're going to catch some people before people are maybe laying low before the holidays.
Yeah, for sure.
Good,
for
man.
Sure.
So we're letting a couple people roll through here. Want to thank everybody for cruising in, see some familiar faces. We've got Dr. Jack, Coach Caulfield just rolled in.
Yeah.
We better not make any mistakes now.
Nobody told Coach Caulfield you're not supposed to be on this unless you can bench 400.
Oh, man.
I got you, bro.
Oh, brutal. So let's talk. I said we'll talk all things strength. You've been doing some really cool you put out some live feeds, and I'm not sure if they're both Instagram and Facebook, but some good stuff, Matt. You posted one about kind of like life stuff. So you're talking about obstacles and like, hey, man, sometimes you got to go through these obstacles, and we should talk a little bit about some life stuff. I just saw the photo of you posting up you're getting that custom built home. You purchased some acres, and I told you, man, it's so inspiring to see how you achieved it through.
I think I did it.
Nothing fancy.
On that stuff. I mean, people. I think what a lot of people don't realize is even though I post all these crazy like cars, because that's my thing. I've lived below my means my entire adult life. So I paid my house off in 2010. So I haven't had a mortgage for 10 years. So, but I paid into the bank like I had a mortgage.
Yes.
And saved up because I knew what I wanted, and I was okay with just living modest until I built up enough money to where I could just stress-free afford what I wanted. And that's the same approach that people need to have with owning a gym. My gym, you've been to it. It's not fancy. It doesn't have a ton of square foot. It has really cool equipment because I've built most of it. But the point of it is that I don't have an overhead that's high stress. And that's where I think everybody messes up. And I was actually just talking with Steve Pensanello on this.
Oh,
remember him?
Sure.
And he went the opposite direction, and it's stressed his life completely out.
Yeah, he came out to our event. And, even on that note, there are a lot of gym owners and strength coaches that follow us. And a lot of guys that on the surface look like they're crushing it. They have a huge facility. They have a lot of equipment. Their Instagram looks like it's pumping. They reach out to me and say, dude, I'm stressed out of my wits. I've got so much overhead. I'm managing so many coaches.
Yep.
And you and I kind of have the similar mindset of when we have coaches, we say, hey, I'm not managing you. You are going to manage yourself. And here are my expectations. Here's the type of experience and knowledge and education we're going to deliver. And if you can't do that, you're out. And because you and I think we're always ready to go at it on our own if we need to.
Yep. And that's exactly right. And, the thing of it is, I think everybody stresses on having way too heavy an overhead.
Yep.
And then not basing what they can offer on a facility, basing what you can offer off of your knowledge and experience and putting your own balls in the vice grip.
Yeah.
And that's where I think people mess up is like, if you're not willing to push hard yourself, people are going to see through your bullshit. Number one. Number two is that if you have over $100,000 invested in your gym right now, you're not setting the right example to have the right shit go on. Now, if I'm in a position now where if I want to go buy a 5 or 6 or 8,000 square foot gym and fill it full of shit, I can do that. But I stayed low key and made knowledge the purpose and the drive of the gym, not the fanciness of the facility, for 15 years before I even thought about trying anything like that. And that's where everybody messes up. They think they go in 100 miles an hour. They got a $5,000 a month, mortgage on their gym. They've got all their equipment leased. And in 10 years, it all needs fixed or replaced because it gets beat up. The point of it is that you don't need fancy stuff to get better, not until you're at least at my level. And I don't even have fancy shit.
Yeah. Dave Tate told me in the original West Side that was like 850 square feet.
Yeah, I looked at there.
Yeah, he said every leg workout was box squat, glute ham raise, reverse hyper. And he goes, we didn't switch it all up. And he goes, we still got better with those 3 exercises. And
it wasn't the fact that they didn't want or need more shit. They didn't have the room. Their gym was literally 800 square feet, blacked out windows. It had 1 monolift, 1 power rack, 1 lat pull down machine, 1 reverse hyper, 1 or 2 competition benches, and a shitload of dumbbells thrown all over the floor.
All over the floor. Yeah.
That's it.
And
if you laid on the ground, you got MRSA, But the thing of it was everybody got better. And actually the magic of Westside Barbell was actually that time. Like it was that grungy, hardcore feeling. And when they moved and we all moved the gym to where it is now, it was a nicer facility. It lost its edge.
Everybody
we still did big numbers there, and guys still do big numbers there now, but it didn't have that same feeling of we're going to go find drug addicts in the gutter and make them world champions.
I won't mention his name, but he was a head Division I strength coach at some of the top football teams in the country, and he was talking about the university he was at when they had the first weight room. He said it was like in a basement, no air conditioning. He said, dude, we were just destroying people. He goes, when we got our new facility and then the athletes started getting their jerseys laid out on the bench for them and it was perfect. He goes, man, you could just feel the energy just.
Well, and that's why, in my opinion, in strength conditioning, and there's going to be a lot of guys that disagree with this, but I know a lot of the old timers, and the strength conditioning old timers actually had a bigger advantage than some of the new guys, because in the old times, you weren't a strength coach most of the times unless you were a badass. So like my first connection, my 2 first connections in strength conditioning were these 2 dudes. Wade Russell, that played for the Dolphins and the Bengals. He was 6'6", 280, ran a 4.6 flat 40, had a 38.5-inch vertical, and about a 550 bench in 1982. All right? This dude was a tank. And then I meet Tom Zapanzik, the original head strength coach of the Colts when they moved to Indianapolis, and he could pick up a fucking car with his neck. And he had no degrees, he had no certs. He was just a 100% evil badass. And he made the guys train, and this is when the Colts was not a pre-Peyton Manning facility. They didn't have shit. So they were just training with arbitrary stuff. They didn't have really cool stuff. My point is that back in the day, those guys that got into strength conditioning, they liked it because they liked to hammer weights. They were old school. They were tough asses. And now it's become this big, my facility's nicer than yours, or my facility has these dunk tanks, or my facility has these fucking therapists.
It's great for the equipment companies because they got to re-outfit places, and the places with the best training facilities are not always the best sport programs. So your facility might be $20 million. The next team wants a $30 million facility. That's not necessarily beating them.
A lot of people don't know this, but I did one of my internships as an undergrad at University of Texas. University of Texas football, Longhorns, had the baddest weight room in the entire country at that time. It was in the early 2000s. They had 35,000 square feet, and every plate they had in that gym was burnt orange with the Longhorn in it, and it was powder coated to match the orange across the entire facility, and they had dumbbells up to 200 pounds.
Holy hell.
Yeah. Well, and the reason was because Jeff Madden was there, Mad Dog, and he was a 600-pound bencher. So he's a big, tough dude. But the point is he said the same thing. He said when they got that new facility with all that nice stuff, he said Texas got soft.
And I think at Arizona State in the 70s, was that John Cole?
Yeah.
Yep. So
yep.
him too. I mean, sounded like had similar numbers of that guy, Mad Dog. And I think at the time they said John Cole was lifting with the guys, and that's what fired them up to get strong, because he was moving weight, so they did. And you know what's interesting? When I first was invited to go out to Lehigh University, it was the same thing. Is they brought me in to their original wrestling room. The weight room was connected, and I can't remember when that original wrestling room was built, but it had a cathedral ceiling. It looked like a barn. I mean, I got goosebumps. And they said, so after I warmed them up on the wrestling mat, coach was like, I'm going to take you into the weight room, but I gotta warn you, it's a dungeon. And I said to him, sounds like heaven to me. And it was like 700 square feet. They had 3 half racks.
Yeah.
And, they had thick handled dumbbells, close to 200 pounds. And I remember, like, these guys that they brought in, I didn't know that they were interviewing me, but I took them through a workout. And, like, they were dropping weights. And, like, every 5 minutes I'd have to push the stereo speakers back.
Yeah.
We were dropping so many weights, the stereo speakers were about to fall off. It was great. And then afterwards, they kind of give me a tour of the university. I said, well, you let me know how I could help you out, and you know what you guys need. And the head coach goes, we need you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes.
You know what was funny was I just spoke at University of Ashland last Saturday.
Yes, I saw that.
You know, Judd Logan's up there, 4-time Olympian.
Yep.
And you know what was funny was we started to talk about how you can have all the nicest equipment, you can have the nicest facilities, but you cannot replicate the attitude, and you can't replicate the aura. And when Judd Logan walks in as one of the top throwers to ever live in front of those other throwers, they want to work hard for him. They could work out outside right now in Ohio, which is 35 degrees, and they would still bust their ass for that. That's the point.
Yeah. And that's actually, it's not as common as people think. And I think where this story's going is like what I said is, you know, I saw, you know, you and I had the conversation. You were telling me about the house that you were buying, the property, now seeing that. And to me, it's like, it's awesome to see the guy who, I don't even think you have an email list. So you have the website, you have Instagram, social media, and you've built it literally with your hands. And to me, I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful because it's just blue collar. You found a way, and then you made that video maybe 2 weeks ago where you were speaking about, you know, these obstacles are tests in your life to see, will you, you know, break through or will you break down?
Well, and that's the thing is like the toughest people tend to have the most adversity. I mean, most people that's followed me and followed you now are realizing that, you know, I started off the lifting in a fucking wheelchair. Like, I was hit by a car at 50 miles an hour, shattered my legs in 8 places and shattered my pelvis. So I was getting into weights because I wanted to play football with my friends. And my legs weren't strong enough to run 40 yards, you know, and that's what people don't understand. So I'm like you, I have a really hard time listening to people's excuses and bullshit because you didn't have as bad a card as me, you know, but everybody wants to make an excuse versus make progress. And that's the only difference between being successful, whether it's building a custom home or having your own gym or breaking world records or having, you know, all these coaching accolades. All of that comes from a core understanding that you are capable of anything. The only limitation is yourself.
Yeah, your excuses sound good to yourself in the moment. And so you come up with these excuses. And I actually work with a guy who's a wrestling coach at a high school, and I see the messages he gets. I mean, these kids want to essentially skip all kinds of practices, yet they want to be allowed to compete. Where I said to him, like, I would never have even thought of that. Like, I didn't know you're allowed to miss practice. I didn't know that because you're sick, you're allowed to stay home during the season. I remember it's the school, we had a snow day. I was in 8th grade. My brother was a sophomore. He ran to school in the snow down a highway, Route 1. And I remember my mom called asking, you know, what are we doing? It's snowing, we're home. And I told her, yeah, you know, my brother, he ran to the high school to go to wrestling practice. So, kids, you know, are getting a ride to my gym who live 2 blocks away.
Right.
So I honestly, like, I just can't help them until they want to help themselves turn that corner. And, you know, all this talk of like these tough in life, I mean, the bottom line is if you don't have the balls, if you don't have the grit, you're going to struggle. I mean, you're just going to, life is going to.
And you know, and I don't think toughness, I think toughness is a mixture of you have some of it born. I wasn't naturally a tough guy.
Yep.
But what I did is I just put my head down and put one foot in front of the other every day.
Brick
I
by
think
brick.
where people screw up is, and, you know, Charles Poliquin used to use this saying all the time, and you can make it any way you want. You can make it any timeline you want. But people overestimate what they think they can get done in a year and underestimate what they can get done in 5. I knew that if I wanted to be one of the best in the world, it was going to take me a long time, so I was okay with that. And I was okay with only making 0.001% gain every day. But the point is that 0.001% over every day, over 365 days a year, over 10 years is miles. And that's where everybody screws up. You can't go do your best at the gym. So what? Go to the gym and do the best you can do that day.
Brick by brick.
What you'll find is brick by brick, you're building a fucking castle. But the problem is everybody goes, well, I can't build a whole wall today, so screw it, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
That's the mentality that screws up everybody.
What I've learned is, you know, with success leaving clues that the people that are successful, they're not, like you're saying, they're not so concerned with what am I doing this month. They're really looking at this 3-year, 5-year, 10 years because you're thinking so big, and it allows you, I don't want to say it allows you, but it gives you the grit to perform brick by brick. And we have an athlete that's training. He's home from winter break. He's like 185 now, but we got people watching from Hawaii, and I think that guy Petko Holic, where's he from?
He's from Bulgaria.
Bulgaria.
Yeah. So why don't you guys yell out? Why don't you guys yell out where you're from?
Where you're from? Hawaii. Yeah. Lot of scrappers in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Tough.
Me and you need to go do a seminar in Hawaii, somepla's actually fun.
Listen, there's a great place in Hawaii called 50 Barbell. Jack Cambra. He runs the gym out of his backyard, side yard. His dad raised him on, you know, lifting and powerlifting, and his dad, their neighbor, were all like powerlifters, bodybuilders, and his dad was like a drag car racer.
Yeah.
You guys would get along good talking about.
Well, I think, you know, I think a lot of that, some of that build up in Hawaii was from when they used to hold those monster meets in the 80s.
Oh, yes.
You know, that's where Hatfield and Cohen and a lot of those guys broke some big numbers over there.
Doug Furness, yes.
Yeah.
Well, just like
John Cook,
a lot of people from Jersey.
Yeah.
M3 is saying everybody should do some time in prison. That's his background.
Everybody should have done something to go to prison, but if you got caught, you're a fucking dumbass.
So let's see if anybody wants to drop some training questions. Let's see some questions, guys.
Yeah, throw some questions. Okay, we got people from England, New York, Portland, Washington State. Oh, shit. Ohio. If you're in Ohio and I don't know who you are, that means you don't come to the gym. I ought to kick your ass. Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, so if I was in Ohio, I'd be, you know, speaking of Ohio, I believe Edinburgh University was it's like Pennsylvania border of Ohio.
Yeah.
When I was at Lehigh, I believe Edinburgh may have been ranked 4th or 5th in the country.
Is that really close to Pittsburgh, or is it up north?
I'm not sure where it borders, but I saw a mini documentary they did, and their weight room was looked like a destroyed high school weight room. You know, it had a couple of hex dumbbells, some barbells, and those guys were just tough as nails. I believe they were ranked 4th or 5th in the country when I was at Lehigh, and just looking at their Spartan conditions, their top wrestlers were saying, listen, just because we don't have the big name or the fancy facility doesn't mean we can't bang heads and beat the best guys. And their attitude just shined through. We got a good question here, Matt. What's the key to developing strength and endurance at the same time?
You answer it first and I'll answer it.
Sure. So I'd say that having the base of strength is going to be crucial. I haven't met, you know, if we're talking about endurance running And I mentioned how I came upon like an old conversation you had on Verkhoshansky's site. You were helping some pretty high-level Ironman competitors, triathletes. I had a kid in 8th grade who beat the 5-minute mile in 8th grade by showing up once a week to do strength work. So I found that when an athlete is performing their endurance work, their running work or swimming work, when we add strength training to it, it's so basic. People want to complicate it and argue about it, but by getting their muscles stronger, now they're just utilizing less energy to get the same amount of work done. So they've got more strength endurance by making the muscles more efficient and more effective. It's as simple as that, and people want to argue it and say, oh, it should be running technique, this and that. But sometimes I can't run the kids cross-country practice. So they show up, we get them stronger. Yeah. Their times decrease and their speeds improve.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. I think that the big thing is that it is different, but only at the higher level.
Yes.
And that's everybody wants to fight about it, and they can't bench 300 and they can't run a 5-minute mile. The point is don't make sure that you are up at genetic limits before you start making the decision, well, strength and endurance now. But my big thing is that you have to really be careful with what type of endurance you want. Now, in my opinion, for overall endurance, not just pure running or something of that nature, you need to have workouts like Zach does at his gym that has low to no rest periods. Learn to deal with a fucked up heart rate while you're training. I think powerlifters, most time, except if they're me or been trained by me, they're so fucking out of shape that they can't do any endurance. That's why I do those huge warm-ups. But I also do 300 reps of stuff in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? And that is what attacks the strength and the endurance and the muscle size all at the same time. So if you're smart with your training and you know what you're doing, you can have the best of all worlds to a point. But then a marathon runner is not going to be a good powerlifter, and a powerlifter is not going to be a good marathon runner, but they can have a little bit of each, and it will accentuate their training.
One of our coaches at my original gym was a triathlete. So he would ride his bike to the gym. Then he would do like a heavy circuit. He might flip the tire, do farmer walks, bench. Then he would do a lot of chins and dips. Then he'd ride his bike back or run back. And like even with speed training, I posted this on Twitter. Like I've been seeing a lot of videos posted on Twitter and Instagram where these exercises look cool. They look very fancy. Here is Ben Johnson's workout. And it's like, I look at what success leaves clues. He's doing half squats, bench press, incline press, power cleans are in here, the reverse leg press, like the Tiger Runner. So,
nothing fancy.
Nothing fancy, yet everybody wants to do these fancy videos. And then I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, I would never be able to train even half a team doing those exercises. They're too crazy. I can't train half the cross-country team or half of the track team or even a quarter of them on that crazy exercise you're showing. And it's like, here's one of the fastest men in the world and his teammates, and they're all benching. They're all doing half squats. Some of them are cleaning, and they're all doing sets of 1 to 5, and they're just doing strength work. And, you know, I even with Chad Smith, I remember we had a conversation, and I remember the gist of it was, he goes, Zach, if we look at the fastest people on earth, most of them squat and clean pretty heavy. So, like,
true. Ben Johnson squatted 625 for a double or a triple at 205 pounds body weight.
Yep, it has
so my question to all of you guys is, if you're truly trying to get fast, are you strong enough to be fast?
Yeah.
And then if you're trying to get strong, are you in shape enough to get stronger? Those things are the questions that you need to ask yourself in your own training. If not, maybe circuit warm-ups like what I do is beneficial for you so you can stop being so out of shape. If you're a runner,
circuit warm-ups are great.
Yeah. I mean, even Judd Logan's using them with all of his throwers now.
I think they're also great for the mindset, because you start getting pumped. You start mentally really prepping in. And I think the mental prep of an athlete is different than guys like you, myself, and Judd. Like, you know that you're squatting, but you're thinking about squatting 1 to 2 days before. So your mind is warming up. Whereas athletes, we're getting them mentally prepared through the same physical prep. And one of the questions here is a good one. It says, Matt, I've seen you do a lot of upper back work. What else can we do to get the erectors and lower back stronger? And I'll add to that, Matt, because not everybody has a reverse hyper. How, does Judd have a reverse hyper, and how sold are you on that reverse hyper with people implementing it in their training? Because I know you have it at the firehouses that you're working with.
I think in some ways it's crucial, but not, you can get by without it for a while. That's the thing. See, the problem is my philosophy, which requires some specialized equipment, and I think will make sense to all of you guys, is traction versus compression. RDLs, good mornings, all of these things are going to make your lower back very strong and do it very quickly. But the problem with it is that you're going to increase compressive forces that the athlete's already dealing with. So what you have to figure out is, how do you get these muscles hypertrophied, stronger, and conditioned without increasing excessive wear and mileage on the athlete's body? There are only certain types of equipment that can mimic those types of movements and not be in a compressive state. 45-degree back extension, reverse hyper. The Good Morning machine that I just designed is a great machine for that. The belt squat machine can be utilized to develop the glutes and all those things without beating up the back. But the problem is that you are eventually going to have some specialized equipment to get the lower back strong. There's just no ins, shapes, ways around it. But for the developing athlete, doing RDLs for time, kettlebell, standing on blocks, flexibility and mobility work as far as being able to hold, say, just a 25-pound kettlebell and do stiff-legged RDLs for a minute. Like, there's a lot of athletes in the 8th grade all the way up to senior year in high school that that can't do that.
They can't. Yeah, I mean, they can't do a lot of basic calisthenics.
And here's my thing: is why the fuck are we worried about max squatting them when they can't even do a 25-pound kettlebell for a minute?
We've had some pretty serious things going on Twitter, as like a few people have been posting like these max effort videos on Twitter. Kids power cleaning, kids lifting the bar from the ground with that hunchback and then trying to clean it. And I mean, it's sparking. Everybody's so fired up that there's not a qualified strength coach. But really, I look at, like, it just requires common sense. Like, we could get them stronger in such simplistic ways, but we need to get back to all those calisthenics and those playing drills that get them strong. Because my early days of training athletes, I remember how easy it was to coach them because they were generally fit already.
Yeah, hitting on your point is we are dealing with a different generation now.
Yep.
In our generation, you didn't see nearly that many people with poor posture because we still did a heavily physical activity for our play. There were a lot more people involved in sports. There was just more shit to do outside. And here's the problem. You're taking an 8th grade now versus an 8th grade 30 years ago. They're physically behind.
Way
that means
different.
You can't start them in the same spot.
Yep.
They have to be reconditioned and retaught proper motor patterning, which could take most of their high school up.
Takes a long time.
Right, because the thing of it is, like, for instance, my grandfather had 6 horses. So what do you think I was doing in the summer? Baling hay, carrying hay upstairs.
Carrying horse feed.
Hot-ass gym.
Yeah.
Like my gym, like, just like yours, I don't have any air conditioning.
Right.
You sweat your ass off.
Yeah.
You get tough in there. But the point is, I already had that toughness, so it doesn't bother me.
Yes.
But these kids don't.
Right. What's interesting is how a lot of kids are having these issues with, like, heat exhaustion, where I never heard of those things 15, 20 years ago. So kids are different. So for the college strength coaches,
2 things is they're in air conditioning constantly.
Yeah.
Number 2, everybody's eating a shit diet.
Yes.
Right?
And sleeping.
So how many of your parents drop their kids off and you got to get after the parents because they fed them McDonald's before they got there?
Or they ate nothing. It's constant. They're at a negative because they don't sleep enough, right? They go, so that crushes you. Then they don't eat barely at all, so that already crushes them. And then they haven't had, they've never mowed the lawn. They've never cut their own grass. You know what I mean? So, even for the college coaches out there, they're hammering these kids after a break when the bottom line is they're going to have to do a lot of light sled work, light band work, light dumbbell work. You're gonna have to build them brick by brick.
You're over, and a lot of the coaches at that level, since they're so far behind, but they're so uneducated that they don't understand that stuff's progressive. You can't beat a kid into the ground and expect his body to adapt. It doesn't work that way.
Right. I'd say these younger strength coaches, they don't realize how far behind they are. And it's like, I've seen kind of this change in generations. So it makes it easy for me to really kind of have that coach's eye and say, all right, this kid, everybody's back squatting, but this kid is on kettlebell squats. Or you just need to understand progression and regression.
Well, I'll give you a prime example. I had a fireman bring one of his kids in. He's a 16-year-old receiver. He's pretty tall, pretty lanky, but pretty tall. I think he's 6'3", and he's a sophomore, right? So he's pretty tall. Here's the thing. He comes in. He's like, I can't get him to gain any weight, blah, blah, blah. So I put him on my bell squat. He can't do 25 reps with the frame.
Yes, with nothing. Yep. What would
I be able to accomplish by putting him under max effort squatting or teaching him power clean or anything?
Think about this. My son is 10 and he could do 25 reps with the frame.
Yeah, he's 10. This kid's 16.
Yep. And it's eating. It's if they don't get these lessons early. So Petcoholic is asking, like, my kids' breakfast every morning is like eggs and toast, French toast, pancakes and bacon, eggs and bacon, bacon, egg and cheese. Like, they're eating. I pack their lunch every day. They eat dinner when they come home from school. Then they have their sports. Then they eat another dinner. So they've been trained at a young age to eat on the regular. Don't be afraid if you're hungry. Figure out how to make your food. My son is 10. He could make pancakes and French toast. And since we moved here 8 years ago, when my son was 1.5 years, my daughter was 3, there was a climbing rope in the garage. There was kettlebells in the garage. They've seen me deadlifting since they were babies. So to them, it's normal that you're supposed to be strong. You're supposed to organize your food.
Yeah.
So it's the environment.
That you don't see strong parents most of the time. You don't see strong parents that have weak kids.
Yeah.
So if your son's not performing and he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing, the chances are is you might have missed something in his educational pattern that might not necessarily be his fault. And a lot of that is just putting them in uncomfortable positions. Make them go work on farms. Make them go carry stuff. Make them go do stuff. You know, what did Mr. Miyagi make Daniel do to learn karate?
Painting fences. Yeah. You know what's interesting? We're having this conversation on parenting is, it must have been 3 years ago, we took our kids to go horseback riding, except we said to the instructor, for the first half hour, let them clean the stalls and clean the horses. Then they could do it. So let's make them work. We're gonna pay for the hour, but for the first half hour, they're not getting, I'm going to jump on a horse. I need them to respect the kind of work that you need when you're on a farm.
Hell yeah.
That stuff is crucial. You know, Jeremiah saying he's so glad he found us. And there are some parents that they're in love with training, but they have a hard time influencing their kids to do it. There are certainly times where I am, you know, I don't want to say I always push my kids, but if you always say, well, it's up to them, kids nowadays will often want the easy way out. So there are times where you have to say, listen,
kids are human too. Yes. Kids are human too, and they're going to take the path of least resistance if possible. I think the best way, what I have found and seen work really well as parents, don't push them, but have them involved in the area. So I'm sure you took your kids to the gym and just have them watch.
That's it. And you know what?
It creates interest.
Oh, I have the little office in my gym, and I would say, come. And then little by little, my son and daughter would come out, and then I'd say, Ethan, hold, John's ankles while he does the hand walk. Then John finishes and goes, okay, now your turn. Hey, I didn't tell him to do it, but they started jumping in. Or my daughter comes out and starts throwing the medicine ball around. I didn't say, go this way, go that way. I said, guys, just go throw the medicine ball together. And I let them go into the gym and play.
Yeah.
It has built a foundation that, you can't really build. But it's like I never said, you're going to come and work out. I let them get involved on their own.
You have to oversmart a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But, you know, but, you know, it's the same thing goes back, you know, little Trey, the kid I trained with spinal bifida.
I love it. Yes.
He, you know, he wants nothing more than to come into that gym because he has an identity there. Everybody high fives him.
Yes.
Right. And yeah, he gets off track sometimes. Sometimes
Sure.
comes in. He's a 5-year-old. But the point is, if you got a 5-year-old kid that's on a spectrum that has spinal bifida and messed up and wears braces to come in the gym, what the hell is your excuse?
Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
You know?
To see
Why is he tougher than half the kids his age? I don't get it.
He's a little hammer. And you know what? People who don't know would say, wow, he's just 5. But my son at age 5 was doing a lot of these working type things because, like, I remember if we were redoing the bathroom, he wanted to break the tile off the floor. He wanted to hand me tools, and it's just what they see. So environment, just like, you know, you've said it before that, like, Westside was the environment, it was the atmosphere, and this is what builds places. It's the environment and the atmosphere.
Yeah, and Louis knew that. You know, there was, if you want to really break it down to the core understanding, is that Westside was ahead at the time of everybody programming wise. I will agree with that.
Yep.
But what they were really ahead with is that somehow Louis got 10 to 15 guys that were all in the top 10 in the world to coexist together without too much ego, but still compete against each other. And that's how they created the system and the amount of records that they created. He brought a bunch of hard-nosed dudes that were tight with each other but wanted to beat each other every week. Now, if you're constantly competing against George Halbert that benched 766 at 220, you're not going to be phased at any other competition you go to because you're already competing against the best every week.
Yeah, your training is
That's really what did it, and that's what Judd Logan talked about at the Ashland conference. Was you got to learn to create an environment.
Environment is clutch, and you know that saying. You know, you don't rise to the level. You're gonna fall. You don't rise to the level that you want to compete in. You're gonna fall to the level of your training. And when I follow wrestling, I'm like, this team is always winning because of how they train on the regular and what they're doing. Why does this team always lose? It's because of their environment and just they have a different level of normal, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's heartbreaking because I know that kids are always capable of more, but whoever's in charge of them sets the standard. And some people set a very poor standard.
Yeah, and so what I think a lot of these people, especially parents, need to take away is don't judge a facility by what it looks like. Your place isn't special. My place isn't special, but the environment is special and what we know is special. And that's what separates everything. So for people that want to be successful in the training, make yourself the valuable tool. The gym is only an outreach of what you can do psychologically to those kids and make them better.
Yeah.
I mean, I got up to breaking, a lot of state and national records as a teenager lifting at a local Y.
The YMCA. YMCA's back in the day were amazing, though.
Yeah, but my YMCA was fucking terrible. You know, we had a squat rack, a bench press. We had a couple old school Nautilus machines and a track around the whole thing.
Yeah, mine was the same. It had the York isometric rack.
Yeah.
A bench, an incline bench. But the guys were lifting heavy, and the older guys were mentoring me. Hey, your hands need to be that close. Put them out here, elbows here. Just teaching you how to do things. And, you know, I don't know if that happens in gyms nowadays, Globo gyms, because everybody's head is on the phone. Even, you know, unless a high school weight room has a solid coach, then there's probably a lot of talking and chatter time and not a lot of focused training time. Whereas if it's not my set, I'm spotting you, I'm coaching you, I'm firing you up, I'm cheering you on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That changes everything about a gym. So when parents ask, hey, they're doing the same exercises at the high school. All right, well, I always say, I drive a car. I don't pull up to the NASCAR racing facility and say, I do the same thing you guys do. They say, get the fuck out of here, dude. You know, just because you got your license doesn't mean you're about to race your car here. And how we do things is crucial. Somebody asked me recently, Matt, like what I would say, like, how do you get education? What do you study? And I was thinking of your 3-month internship. It's like that will pay somebody back for the rest of their life. Do it. If you were to live in your gym or live in my gym for 3 months, that, you know, and I haven't met too many coaches who are ready and willing.
Well, you know what's funny is now University of Kansas is sending all pre-GAs. They have to come and intern with me.
Beautiful. Because
Colton Razzo is an intern out there, and he is so good that the head strength coaches are like, we want guys from you because you can actually help us.
Out of state. So what do the kids do? They rent an apartment together?
And this is hilarious. Colton's school's paid for. So they found out he was an intern from me.
Yep.
They offered him a GA position and paid all of his school. Think about that. And it's going to get better, because the problem is every certification now, and I love the NSCA. I talk with them all the time. You can have a CSCS. That's not going to get you a job, right? It's not going to get you a GA at some huge college.
Yeah.
But I think the reason is because you have to come and learn and mentor from somebody that has a broad spectrum of knowledge. It doesn't have to be with me.
Yeah.
But the point of it is that the reason that you and I should charge people to do internships is because you have to be vested in it.
You know, two things that are interesting. So the two universities that I'm connected with, they said that we're afraid to send an intern. We're afraid they won't survive. Meaning, I'm afraid they won't work hard enough for you, Zach. And I'm like, that's a problem. You should be sending somebody to me. We're afraid that they can't handle working hard for a few hours a day. And
I'm going to tell you this. All the interns that I've had in the past 2 years that I've charged have all went and done amazing things.
Right.
And the ones I used to take for free, I probably had 20 of them, and I could count on one hand how many of them did anything successful. And because when they showed up, they had no buy-in.
Right.
They wanted to learn. But what I do is, and like I'm sure like you do, you have about 10 to 14 days to prove to me your worth. And that doesn't mean you need to know everything.
In the first week, I could see.
I shouldn't have to tell you to clean. I shouldn't have to tell you to help out.
Yep.
None of that. Because now I can see what your demeanor is.
Yes.
And when you start asking me questions, I can tell if you've been reading.
Yes.
So if you ask me why do you have this warm-up? You wouldn't believe this shit. I've had people come into my gym and ask me to assess them, and they don't even know about how I warm up.
Right, which is it's.
You know what? But let me tell you what happens. Yeah. You come into my gym and you haven't read what I put out for free, you get double charged because you're a waste of my time. I mean, we sit and have these videos and have these conversations because I don't want to answer the same damn questions twice. Now, you're pretty skilled and educated. Why do you have my manuals?
I actually follow these manuals, even with my shoulder injury. You'll even see the dates of the workouts that I put next to. I put the dates.
Which one is that? Is that the minimal manual?
It's the minimalist manual because of my crazy schedule. See,
give me some feedback on that. Like, what do you?
First of all, it's very straightforward. I love it. Second of all, I follow all your stuff, but I've been reading your stuff since early Elite FTS days before you did the big house squat manual. So I think it's very straightforward. It's not a huge book, and I don't know how many workouts there are, but I think for anybody who has a base of skill, it's like, boom, I choose the warm-up, I go into the main lift, and then I crush the accessories. So today, people are trying to wow everybody with more and flashy, but what did Bruce Lee say? Like, the ultimate genius comes from simplicity. I don't need to find a complicated manual to be wowed. Like, I understand that, like, this is what you have your philosophy in the first few pages of the book.
Well, that's the key, is learn how to create a very well thought philosophy that has a lot of backing and understanding without being complicated.
Right.
You know, if you want to know why I do the warm-ups I do, all you got to do is read those first 5 pages.
Yeah, or listen to any of your Q&As. There's so much to learn for free that I think people, it is a bit disappointing when you put out so much free information somehow, some way, how do they show up at the gym and they skipped, you know what I mean? It's like they landed on top of the Empire State Building without, you know, taking the stairs. And for people who have asked me about, you know, college strength and conditioning, Lehigh reached out to me to hire me. I never applied for a job.
Yeah.
Rutgers, it was right. I remember it was like a day or two after Christmas. I get a text message saying, we need you to be the strength coach. I never applied for the job. I was reached out to.
Here's what you're saying. They found you. People ask me, how'd you get those contacts with the military? How'd you get those contacts with the fire department? They found me.
Yeah.
Because I was doing the right shit. And that's where people don't understand.
Your results have to speak way beyond the gym and way beyond your immediate location. But yeah, I saw, you know, somebody was asking on Facebook, what's more involved in the tactical training? I need to know more about it. You know, the bottom line with your books is I love how straightforward they are. They explain what the method is.
Yeah.
They explain
but you notice, like,
used on
that, you notice on that post that people were asking about the tactical manual and what was in it and all this other stuff. And you could tell that the people asking that questions did not even go on YouTube and look my name up and just read all the free stuff.
Yes.
To see what was going to be in that manual.
Yes.
And it's kind of like, you know, it's one of those things where it's not even worth responding.
Right. Somebody needs to seek out and do some work before they show up. You know, it's just, that's the way you will achieve the most. I look at a lot of like sport teams, and let's say I'm going, you know, when kids are about to go to college, the best athletes, they're training up until the day before they need to pack up and leave. Who are the kids that struggle? I just need this last summer. It's my last summer before I go away. Dude, you're 18 years old. Don't worry about your summer now. You should be training like a madman. And going back to the early thing we spoke about, I have a kid that's training with us. He started when I first opened the gym. You know, I remember him benching the bar, you know, benching 5 pounds on the bar. Now he comes in and trains himself. Back then he was 82 pounds. Now he's like 182, 185. And when I see him training, I get this quick flashback of, wow, Aiden was 100 pounds lighter. And it was like brick by brick, little by little. And now he trains himself. You know what's interesting is he follows you. So we were deadlifting 2 weeks ago, and he puts 225 on the bar, and he goes, I'm going to get a total of 30 reps, and then I'm going to work up to 500. And I didn't tell him to do that. He's thinking for himself. He's figuring it out. And I said to him, I go, Aiden, you're at a point now where you understand how to train yourself, and I love it. So now you're going to come in, and you know what else he does? I don't tell him to do it. He's coaching the other kids. I don't even tell him to do it.
Dude, that's when you know you've succeeded. You can sit back and have a little sigh of relief. If you come into my gym now, you'll see all my veterans. I back away, and I'm the overseer. But you'll see my veterans step up and bring in the newbie and coach.
Yep.
Because I'm not only one, I want to see what my client knows. I want people to walk in, and my average house mom knows more than most fucking strength coaches.
Yeah.
That's when I sit back and I'm just like, check that out.
I'm impressed with the women at your gym, how it looks like there's a little team of women training together. Yeah. And they've created their own little fight club.
I have a 64-year-old retired teacher that can deadlift 300 pounds at 125 body weight.
Oh, it's amazing.
And has 15% body fat. Ironically, she does everything I tell her to do in the gym, and she eats exactly like I tell her to eat. Yeah. Who would have thought?
Yeah. All right. My new quote is, it's so simple, it's complicated, because people are complicating it. So how do we want to close this out, Matt? Anything you want to close out?
I mean, I think if you're in the Jersey area, you definitely want to get a hold of you. And, you know, I know people ask all the time if there's a build squad on the East Coast. So I'm sure Zach, if you schedule it with him, would be more than happy to show it to you.
I tell people we've gotten a lot of messages since I picked up the belt squat, and they say, wow, it's a big investment. I said, that's right. But think about this. Not only am I using it and my back doesn't hurt anymore, my kids are going to use it until forever, and probably they're my grandkids. You know what I mean?
There is no machine built at that quality of material.
Right.
It's quarter-inch steel. You can put it in front of a fucking train. But the thing of it is that it never wears out. The only thing I think you would ever wear out on that would be the belt. Because everything, or a carabiner, but the only thing, everything else is going to outlast human civilization. It's going to be like the fucking Giza pyramid.
I would ask, what price could you put on your lower back health? Because some of my buddies, I was at a Christmas party last weekend, and two of my buddies are state troopers, and they were telling me, they're like, dude, I wake up in the morning, and like when I brush my teeth, I have to hold myself up with one arm. I go, listen, you can't train. You're not 16 anymore. Your training has to be different. You want to come to my gym, I'll train you so you're not in that pain anymore. And it's, and also our athletes, it gives them the longevity, because now if you train high school athletes, they're not just squatting with you. They're squatting in the high school, and they're probably squatting incorrectly, which multiplies the damage to their back. So if you have a private facility, you're oftentimes undoing mistakes elsewhere. So I think, when people are injured, I know I've been through this, you obsess over it. You can't stop. It like runs your life. And I hear when people are telling me about their back, and I'm saying to them, you have to train the right way. You can't just.
And that's the thing is, you got to learn how to get the hamstrings and the glutes firing and activated in a squat type activity with little to zero compression.
Yeah. Right. What's $3,000 to save your back? In the grand scheme of things, it is nothing.
Nothing. And the thing of it is, if it lasts you 25 years, it doesn't cost you shit, And that's the big thing, I think, is that people don't realize that it's all an investment. I mean, I started off my gym. I only had $6,000. I didn't have everything at once. I had what I needed. Yeah. And, but the thing of it is, if you already have a pre-existing back problem, or you are training a lot of high school athletes that need a lot of squat form help, and you can't be around them all the time, the belt squat, there is no comparison.
Yeah, most people are not training high school athletes. Actually, a lot of people have realized it's a bad business because the high school coaches are not letting the kids leave. They're training a lot of adults.
Yeah, and then the turnaround's too high.
Right. Deppin is saying, can I come up to try? Deppin, anytime, my man, send me a text message. Come use the belt squat whenever you want. You're going to love it. You're going to love it, man. So,
and like I said, if you're out in Jersey, go see him. If you got kids in that area, definitely want to go see Zach. And if you're in the Ohio area, anybody's welcome to come to Columbus. A couple of my trainers are going to have some free sessions at the first of the year for like an hour or two. So if you're in the area or you want to come up, it'd be awesome to have you at the gym. You guys can try everything out there. I mean, that's about it. I think me and you probably need to do another seminar at some point.
I'm going to come out to Ohio this time to do that seminar.
Yeah. And then Peebles is working on that DVD. He finally has got a different job transition. So he's been busting ass on that.
Yeah. On that one of the moms from one of the kids we train, he's a junior. I think he's 16, but he deadlifted 495, flat back, perfect technique, clean.
Damn.
So we had I think like a month ago, our coach at our Scotch Plains facility, which is like an hour away from where you were in Manasquan, they were just they had a deadlift fundraiser, and our team, so her son is 16. He does everything right. He eats, he just does it all right. Bunch of 16 and 17-year-olds who were deadlifting about 500 pounds, flat back, beautiful technique.
It's impressive.
And they don't ever max out. In fact, up there, I spoke with my coach, Andy. He went to the Lehigh Valley Barbell. I sent him to that's another thing is I pay for my guys to go to seminars. I don't even have them. I send them. So he said he switched up the reps. He does a lot of 8s and 10s and 12s with the guys. He goes, we're getting stronger by going lighter and doing more rep work. So he was really
it just depends. I mean, it goes back down to capacity. Yeah. If your capacity is terrible, reps are going to be your best friend when done in the right range, in the right environment. I think volume is probably one of the biggest tricks and tips and magic that you can have in your program, but what you use the volume with and how much you put in is the real magic to everything.
We'll close out with this on the minimalist. The big thing is you get your volume in during the warm up. Then on the main lift, you're working up to like you usually have like a 5 or a 3, but you change up the tempos. Then you have a very quick finisher of accessories, and then you get your other volume. So you have this big chunk of, you have the volume at the top and the bottom. That's your rep work. And then right here, you have just enough optimal heavy work, and that's what keeps you going.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, what we have to remember on the minimalist manual too is you can't have your cake and eat your ice cream. Point is, the minimal manual is not designed for having minimal equipment. It's designed for having minimal time. Yeah. So I've thought we kicked around about making minimalist too, and that is designed around minimal equipment.
Yeah, I think in minimal too, there's a good amount of guys in their garages that have a safety bar, a Swiss bar, and they usually have like a glute ham.
And a little bit of bands, because now they're cheap.
Yeah, bands and chains are pretty affordable. So I think the things that are not in the common garage gym would be machines.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, it was good talking to you.
Great talking to you, brother.
And let me know when you want to do something this year. I'm going to go to DeFranco's place. Nice. I don't think that's real close to you.
It's like an hour away from me.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll go out to DeFranco's place. I'm there January 14th and 15th.
Yep.
When I'm either going there or coming home, we'll either stop and get dinner or something together.
Yes, absolutely, brother. Sounds
great.
And
if anybody's on here from the area and wants to come, we'll make it a thing.
Yes, absolutely. We could do something. So that's a weekend, Matt, or is that a weekday?
I think it's Monday and Tuesday. Okay. But I would try to be there Sunday, and I'd probably leave Wednesday.
Cool.
So I'll try to make it there. I'm speaking at Coaches Conference at the NSCA that Friday.
In Colorado?
In Indiana. Indianapolis.
Yes, Indianapolis.
So I'm going to drive to Indianapolis, do the Coaches Conference, get up the next morning, and start driving your way.
Oh, so you're going to drive. Indianapolis is like, I don't know, maybe a 10
or 11.
There. Yeah.
That's like 8.5 to me to you, but it's another 3 west.
Not
so
too
I figure if I leave Saturday and then I get there Sunday, I could probably split it up, But DeFranco wants to shoot some videos with the WWE guys and then shoot some podcasts. But
good.
I'm thinking that we can get you. We'll sit down and eat some dinner, and maybe if anybody's in your area, we'll make it like we'll meet up somewhere at a certain time.
Yeah.
And we'll go eat dinner or something.
Yes, perfect. So let's talk after the New Year.
All right, brother.
Thanks to everybody for watching.
See
you guys.
Later, homie.
Later.